Aristotle is presumably the most important philosopher who ever lived. He's certainly the most important Athenian philosopher, even though he himself was not from Athens. But it is in Athens that he wrote the most important works: his physics, his so-called metaphysics, his politics, on the soul, his poetics, and, of course, the Nicomachean ethics. The Nicomachean ethics is named after both his father and his son, so it's fair to assume that the book is dedicated to both of them. Yet they are so much more than just a text devoted to his father and his son. They are the very foundation of European ethics. After his arrival in Athens, Aristotle studied under Plato at his academy, and a bit later, Aristotle founded his own academy, the so-called Lyceum, and the peripatetic school, named after the peripatos, the walkway or walk around, as they used to take walks around the Lyceum, discussing philosophical thought. Thomas Aquinas simply referred to Aristotle as the philosopher, hugely influential also on Muslim scholars who referred to Aristotle as simply the first teacher. The Italian poet Dante, who wrote the Divine Comedy, referred to him as the master of those who know, but of course that didn't save him from having to stay in limbo forevermore. In more modern times, Hegel and Heidegger both are tremendously influenced by Aristotle. Hegel ends his encyclopedia with a reference to the Aristotelian God, the prime mover or the unmoved mover, and Martin Heidegger's being in time is in fact an ontology of Aristotle's ethics. Aristotle's teacher, Plato, established that there must be a metaphysical idea of the good, a supreme goodness, which guides all our actions, and indeed everything that exists. Aristotle, however, wondered whether it is in fact the case that such a supreme good, such a metaphysical idea of the good is in fact at all present in our everyday dealings and concerns. And he concluded, right at the beginning of the Nicomachean Ethics, that this could not be really the case. Instead, we must distinguish between action and production, theory and praxis as well. And we must look for what it is that we are actually, as a goal, as a telos, as an aim, striving towards in all of our ethical actions. What is attainable? And what is attainable is eudaimonia, oidaimonia, good spiritedness, a good roundedness, a well-roundedness of our demons. In one word, as we say today, that is Aristotelian happiness. But this happiness is not a state one can reach. Eudaimonia is instead only ever actualized in proper ethical action when all of our virtues are aligned well and in good harmony. To say in an Aristotelian sense that the end of all action is eudaimonia means to say that, in fact, all action springs from that what it aims to attain. The way by which to attain this, by mastering virtue, the Greek word for which is arete, is, well, by means of the golden mean, or rather by finding the equilibrium between different virtues and within them. Now let us briefly turn our attention to Raffaello's fresco, The School of Athens, which is found in the Apostolic Palace in Vatican City. Look at Plato's hands. Now look at Aristotle's hands. They're both holding a book in their left hands. But what are they doing with their right hands? And just which books are they holding in their hands? Plato's right hand points upwards. And what is it that Aristotle's hand is doing? Exactly. He's looking at Plato, and his right hand is almost gesturing to Plato, asking him to flourish in a polis, a well-ordered polis. Only in such an order that is grounded in the everyday, and we have to understand also the word ethos as really the dwelling ground for human being, and also the essence hence of the human being. So the hand of Aristotle here is asking Plato, yes, we must go upwards, but you must also consider and ground everything where we really live. In what book is it that Plato is holding in his hand? It is the Timaeus, a book which we will not discuss here any further, but which of course is a rather syncretistic story of the creation of the cosmos, whereas Aristotle is holding in his hand the ethics, the etika, his Nicomachean ethics. And we should perhaps also remember that for Aristotle the world is uncreated, it is eternal. But our life on this earth isn't, nor are our souls immortal or eternal. Instead, for Aristotle, our soul is the form of our body. That's to say, the soul is what gives the body life, and hence also plants have souls. And we are ever only full human beings when we are part of a polity, when we are part of a community. A well-ordered polis is grounded in self-sufficiency. And what the polis provides for its citizens is a possibility for leisure. In fact, Aristotle points out that we work only to be in leisure, to be able to be in leisure. And education, as he points out also, should focus on making human beings understand the need and the importance of leisure. Now this is quite different from our time, where we are at leisure in order to go back to work, where we relax in order to be functional again at work. But for Aristotle, exactly the other way around. We work so as to be able to be in leisure. And the self-sufficiency of every polis is at the heart of this understanding of leisure. The polis must become self-sufficient so that it can come in touch in a proper way with other cities or other states as well. So we can see that even here in Aristotle, there is in a sense on the macro level of the polis, of the city, of the state, also the need for the golden mean, as there is also in the virtues, in the behavior, in the everyday conduct of every citizen. Despite his criticism of Plato, there is also in Aristotle, and especially in the Nicomachean Ethics, space, or not just space, but shall we say, there's not just space for the divine, but the divine does ultimately provide the ultimate aim or telos for all higher activity. While life, bios, is practical, there must needs also be theoria, where theoria does not just mean theoretical as we think of it today, and certainly does not mean theory as it's come to be called in the second half of the 20th century. No, theoria is the divine vision that only a few, the philosophers for example, are ultimately able to attain only ever for a brief moment. This is what we learn in Book 10 of the Nicomachean Ethics. Philosophical friendships for Aristotle are neither friendships of utility nor friendships of pleasure, but they are, in fact, perfect friendships. These philosophical friendships, they help sustain the self-sufficiency of the polis in an immeasurable, unqualifiable, on a importantly also absolutely non-quantifiable way, in a way that is excessive or of itself, that exceeds all earthly measurement, but that is still required for the polis. And if you'd like to learn and read Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics in more detail and with more focus, even to have this text open up to you also from the dimension of the Greek language, then you are hereby most cordially invited to join my course on Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. You find the link to enroll in the description of this video. Thank you very much indeed.